Alton Towers is one of the best theme parks located here in the UK. They have a fantastic collection of roller coasters, dark rides, some flat rides, and a wonderful mix of great themed areas. However, the question is, how can you best make your opportunities of riding every single coaster in one day possible? I know there are quite a lot of long lines on most days at Alton Towers, and therefore riding every single coaster in a single day can be quite hard to achieve. However, there are certain tactics that you can take to ensure that you maximise your possibilities of riding every single coaster and some of the other rides along the way in a single day at Alton Towers. So here is my Alton Towers tips and tricks video, how to best maximise your day at this wonderful theme park in the United Kingdom. Welcome to Coasternaut, and if you enjoy this video, please do give it a like and subscribe for future updates and videos on Alton Towers Resort, as there'll be plenty more news updates, especially regarding Project Horizon, the new 2025 roller coaster, as and when we hear more official news regarding this new coaster from the park itself. So then, what do you do when you start your day at Alton Towers? First of all, when to arrive at the park? I recommend arriving at the park as early as possible. So park gates typically open at 10 o'clock, and this is when rides will open as well. However, you'll be able to get into the park slightly earlier than this, so I recommend arriving to the park at least around 9:25ish. The parking lot at Alton Towers can be quite a long walk or a monorail ride to the front gate, so I recommend getting to the park at least sort of half an hour before rides officially open at 10 o'clock, and then taking the monorail or starting to walk towards the park gate as early as possible. Alton Towers, for anyone that's been there before, or if you've not been there before, it is a very large park. Some of the rides are quite a walking distance away from the front gate, and it can take you sort of maybe a 10-minute walk or so to get to certain rides, or across the park it can maybe take you a sort of 10-15-minute walk to get from one side of the park to the other. So I would recommend getting to the park nice and early, getting into the park nice and early so you can go to your first ride of choice and hopefully get in the pre-queue, so as soon as the ride opens at 10 o'clock you'll be able to get one of the first few rides. So where do you go when you first enter Alton Towers? Go straight down Tower Street, and in my opinion the best place to go to first of all is the Forbidden Valley. So once you go into the park, turn left in of Tower Street, go through Katanga Canyon and all the way to Forbidden Valley. And what you want to do here first is get a ride on Nemesis. Now obviously this season it's a bit different. Nemesis is currently closed, but we're taking this as any other typical season at Alton Towers Resort, and you want to grab a ride on the B&M inverted coaster Nemesis. Now Forbidden Valley, because it's such a long far walk from the rest of the park, is typically the quietest area of the park throughout the day, but in the morning it is absolutely dead in this area. You'll be able to grab a very easy ride. You'll be on one of the first trains of the day if you walk straight down towards Nemesis, maximum sort of waiting 5-10 minutes for this fantastic terrain coaster. Once you finish your ride on Nemesis, you want to walk straight to the right and go to Galactica, the B&M flying coaster, and just like Nemesis, at this time in the day there is likely to not be any queue at all for this coaster. If there is, once again it'll be a 5 or 10 minute wait, and you'll be able to quickly get 2 coasters of the park collection straight out of the way and done very quickly. Once you've done this, you want to sort of head back up, and if you like the dark ride collection at Alton Towers, I recommend at this point in the day getting a ride on Nemesis Sub-Terra whilst you're in the Forbidden Valley area. It's a cracking little ride and fantastic news for the park that it has reopened, and it will do wonders for the park now it's reopened, and it is a great little ride. So if you like indoor drop towers, I would recommend getting a ride on Nemesis Sub-Terra whilst you're here. And whilst you're making your way back through the park, I'd also recommend grabbing your ride on the Cursed Alton Manor at this point. At least in the 2023 season, it does tend to rack up quite a queue throughout the day, so I would recommend grabbing a ride on this at some point very early on in the day if you can, particularly on your way back after riding Nemesis and Galactica. It might be a sort of 15-20 minute wait at this time in the morning. On your way back, I would definitely skip Wickerman at this point. It's one of the closest coasters to the front entrance, and even though it's probably the coaster that has one of the longest waits in the park throughout the day, I'd skip this for now, come back slightly later in the day, as this will have a rather large queue at this time. Whilst you are coming through Katanga Canyon though, if you're interested in the family coasters at the park, I would recommend at this point in the day riding the Runaway Mine Train, and if you're interested in the Rapids, riding the Rapids ride whilst you're here in Katanga Canyon. And at this point in the day, these rides should have relatively small queues. Once you've gone through Katanga Canyon now, once again walk past Spinball Whizzer. There's no point going to Spinball Whizzer, and don't go to X-Tetra this time, make your way as fast as possible towards the dark forest and the back of the park. Most people, when they first enter the park, go to Wickerman on the left or straight to the Smiler and Oblivion on the right. So go past the centre of the park, straight down to the back of the park, and try and grab a ride on Rita and 13. Preferably 13. I don't know why, but 13 seems to get a very long queue, especially in the later afternoon. So whilst you're there, the entrances to these two coasters are right next to each other. Grab a ride on Rita and 13 straight after you've ridden Nemesis and Galactica. That's where you want to go next for the next two major coasters in the park. Now then, once you've gone there, the other three coasters in the park are sort of hit and miss in terms of the major coasters, as these three coasters do tend to have sort of the longest lines throughout the day. Once you've finished in the Dark Forest, I'd make my way over to X Sector now, try and grab a ride on Oblivion. Oblivion doesn't tend to get as long a queue in X Sector nowadays, now that the Smiler has been around. The Smiler seems to take away a lot of the queues from Oblivion in X Sector, but if both of these rides are still very long queue, whilst you're in the Dark Forest, I'd grab a ride on Hex. It's a fantastic little Vekoma Madhouse dark ride, and then, like I say, if Oblivion is a long queue, I'd grab a ride on Hex whilst you're in the area. Once you've ridden Oblivion, I'd head back towards the front gate and try and grab a ride on Spinball Whizzer. Now, this is a Mauer spinning coaster, so it doesn't have great throughput. It typically does have a very long line throughout the day, but don't go to this right at the start of the day, as just similar to Wickerman. This is right near the front gate, and a lot of people do go to this coaster because it's the first coaster they come across when they enter the park. So try and grab your ride now on Spinball Whizzer. Once you've ridden Spinball Whizzer, in this time I would take a look at the app and just simply see what is the shortest queue between Wickerman and the Smiler. These two coasters typically have the longest lines of all their major coasters at Alton Towers, so it's sort of just a mix-up. See what's happening on the day. These should be the last two coasters in the day that you ride, Wickerman and the Smiler. Obviously, if you want to get the Coasternaut coaster, if you are just an enthusiast that loves credits, ride that whenever you want in the day. You know, maybe not first thing in the morning. It's right near the front gate, and a lot of kids sort of tend to leave the park later on in the day. So you know, when I got this credit, I rode it right at the end of the day. Absolutely walk on. If you are waiting to be a nerdy enthusiast, wait till the end of the day to ride Coasternaut's coaster. So that's how I would personally plan out a day. Just seeing all the major rides and attractions at Alton Towers. Other notes, another tip and trick in terms of food, try and eat outside of the main food period, sort of between 11:30 and 1:30. You'll be queuing ages to get food, and this is a very important time where the rides will probably have shorter queues in the day, and you could be getting those all-important rides in and reduced queue line times. So try and eat either before 11:30 around 11 o'clock, or wait until the middle of the afternoon around 2:30. So there's my tips and tricks guide. Please let me know if I missed a trick, or if you plan of attack is different for Alton Towers. I'd love to see how everyone else approaches the park, but it really is a fantastic park, and it can seem a bit overwhelming to try and ride all their fantastic rides and coasters in one day. But if you approach with the right plan of attack, get there early, eat out of the peak times, it really isn't too hard to ride everything in one day. What did you make of this video? I hope you enjoyed. Please do give it a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to this channel for more Alton Towers videos in the future, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.